Previously, on Joseph Sylvia's childhood fears, Joseph talked about his history with seizures. Today, he is going to pay tribute to a person who is so special to him that passed away a decade ago today on Wednesday, January 15th, 2014. Who was that person? Let's find out. And now, here's the man that's going to talk to you about his childhood fears, Joseph Sylvia. Hi, hello, everybody. This is Joseph Sylvia, a.k.a. the WCPB5 fan here. And today, on this special edition of Joseph Sylvia's Childhood Fears, 10 years ago today, in Omro, Wisconsin, that's about 60 miles southwest of Green Bay, a person who was special to me passed away in a car accident at around 8:30 a.m. Central Time. That's 9:30 a.m. my local time, of course. And that special person was only 24 years old. In fact, that person was about to turn 25 a month later, less than a month later. So yeah. And that special person was a nurse, was my very first, actually that special person, I'll show you who it is now. Or was now, I should say. It's right over here. Her name was Amanda Lynn Prado. And this was her on the date of August 10th, 2012, which was a Friday. And that's me at the age of 14. So, why was that person special? Why was Prado special to me? Well, she was the very first nurse I had, not only at Camp Jocelyn, which is a diabetes camp located in Charlton, Massachusetts, but she was also the first nurse I had in the state of Massachusetts. Fun fact. And we were more like friends. We both had a lot in common. We both also had type 1 diabetes. So that's one of the things we had in common. That's actually why we went to Camp Jocelyn. And it's also why Prado went to the Clara Barton camp, which is just 2.5 miles. Actually, I'll show you where Camp Jocelyn, the entrance here. Here, I'll show you. Oopsies. Oops, let me, 1 second, guys. It's right here. This is the driveway to Camp Jocelyn. This sign here wasn't there when we went there. But it's at 150 Richardson Corner Road, Charlton, Massachusetts, and the zip code for that one is 01507. So yeah, and it's a diabetes camp that was founded by Dr. Elliot Proctor Jocelyn in 1948. He was actually the doctor that invented insulin in 1921 in Canada. It was introduced to the U.S. a year later. So, we both attended this camp, and we both, she was a really good nurse. In fact, I'll tell you a couple memories I have with her. At Putnam Pond, which you can, if I'll zoom in a little bit here, you can kind of see it right there. Actually, let me zoom into the camera on Street View here. You can kind of see it right there. That's Putnam Pond. The campers would swim there. And one time when she was assigned to be the on-site nurse for that, we were helping a friend of mine, whose name I won't mention because it's off topic, because like that person's levels were low, and we were just trying to keep him safe because I've known that person for many years. So yeah. And then I'll zoom back out. Anyway, so we had a lot of fun. I remember one time in my first year there in 2011, we went, I met her on July 31st, 2011, for those that are wondering. I remember one time when we were there, we had me and a CIT, counselor in training, or actually it was an LIT, leader in training, sorry about that, who was from New Hampshire, which is which I've been to. We played a game of Battleship, and my levels actually were, at the time, I'll show you. Hang on. 242. Now, for those that wonder what 242 is as a sugar level, it's normally a high number slightly, but that one actually was one of the best numbers I hit at Camp Jocelyn. And the reason being is because at this camp, as well as the Clara Barton camp seen here, just 2.5 miles east of Camp Jocelyn, located in Oxford, Massachusetts. It is actually, yes, it is, it does have a street in between. That's why I'm showing it. That's why I'm kind of tilting it a little bit. So, the reason why is because these camps that I'm showing you would change your basal rates, your carb ratio, and other things, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to reduce your risk of your levels being low, or campers' risk of blood sugar levels dropping too low. In case you're wondering what my lowest level was at Camp Jocelyn, it was 33, which I didn't hit, which I hit in 2015. And because if you're low, for those that are wondering, if you're low, you could get a seizure and pass out, I guess. But like I mentioned in my previous episode of Childhood Fears. So they do that. So they actually adjust your basal rates, which to me is kind of odd in a way, because mostly that's up to your endocrinologist, the doctor that studies diabetes, along with other diseases in the endocrine field, like Prader-Willis syndrome. I actually once had a roommate with that. So yeah. And so unfortunately, and they did that because so that campers could be more active. And I was not one of those campers, sadly, and because of that, my levels would rise to either the 3s or the 4s in general. So, most of the time, I should say. I wouldn't say all of it, most of it, yeah. So, yeah. And we would, and the last number I remember having with her, or the last number we remember sharing with each other, was this number here, 133, which is a normal number, but to me, it gives me bad luck ever since Prado's passing. But yeah, so like I said, 2011, 242 was actually one of the lower numbers I hit in that year. And yeah, so I personally like that number, but I mean, typically it's a high number mostly, but, slightly, but I'm usually feeling okay with that. Anyway, so yeah, Prada was just was special to me. She showed me the way of learning how to take care of my diabetes at Camp Jocelyn. Well, she was the first nurse to do so, I should say. And we were all sad when she passed away, even though I didn't learn about that until April 7th of 2014. But we were all sad. I cried when she died, when I learned about the news of her passing. And so yeah, and I'll show you something else here. Since I mentioned Green Bay, that Green Bay is 60 miles away from Omro. It's home to, as many of you might know, the Green Bay Packers. That's Len Bell Field right there. Yes, Prada was a fan of the Packers. And I always root for the Packers in her memory. And so that's why they're my favorite NFC team in the NFC, which stands for National Football Conference. So I would. So yeah, before I wrap up this video, why don't you join me for 25 seconds of silence to honor Amanda Prado. Thank you. So, I send my message to the Prado family and her friends. I am sorry for your loss, even though it was 10 years ago today, at the time you're watching this. And she died too soon, but she'll always be in our hearts forever. And we'll always remember her contributions to Camp Jocelyn and Claire Barton, and how much she's touched our lives. So yeah, thank you for watching. This is Joseph. I'll see you next time, and until then, don't get scared.